And this great opportunity that we have to reconnect today. It truly is a great day at Cuesta College, and I'm so happy to welcome you this morning. We'll begin with our land acknowledgement. We collectively acknowledge that Cuesta College occupies the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of both the Salinan and the Northern Chumash, who are the original, current, and future caretakers of the land upon which we, as guests, work, teach, and learn. Please join me in extending a special welcome to our trustees. Joining us live today are our board president, Dr. Deborah Stakes, and past president, Mrs. Mary Strobridge, board vice president, Dana Stroud, is joining online. Thank you for your service and commitment to Cuesta College. We appreciate your presence today. As a reminder, the restrooms are located in the lobby near the entrance of the building. Please feel free to excuse yourself at your convenience. We will not have a break in this morning's presentation. In the event of an emergency, there are exit doors located halfway through the audience that will take you to hallways that go through and out of the building. Today we continue the tradition of celebrating excellence. We will welcome our newest employees, recognize and honor our award recipients, receive area updates from vice presidents. I'll highlight a few items and then we'll enjoy the featured keynote message from Ashley Virtue. We'll begin with introducing our new employees.
I'm Kayla Carlo, a registered nurse at the North County campus.
Hi, my name is Charlie Sharp, and I am an EOPS Care and Hours technician.
My name is Luis Bequecha. I am custodian.
Hi, my name is Alejandra Garcia Estrada, and I'm the biology laboratory technician.
Hi, my name is Andrea Horvath. I'm the administrative assistant to the executive director of advancement.
Joshua Kiesling, Public Safety Officer, Cuesta College Police Department.
My name is Mimi, and I am Financial Aid Support Analyst.
I'm a police officer here at Cuesta College.
Hi, I'm Jen Lukey. I'm the new health aid assistant.
My name is Ryan Morgana, and I'm the new community programs coordinator for education youth programs.
And I'm the program specialist for the Rising Scholars Program.
And I'm a custodian here at Cuesta.
I'm Lee Oma, either a preschool assistant teacher.
And I'm going to be the IA for the Writing Center.
David Ramirez, custodian.
Hi, I'm Robin Rockton Gonzalez, Clerical Assistant 3 with the Office of Education.
I'm one of the new student completion coordinators.
My name is Cody Speak, and I'm an Enrollment Success Specialist at the North County campus.
Hi, my name is Dylan Fissler, and I'm one of the new student completion coordinators.
My name is Ethan Truby, and I'm a computer technician.
Hi, I'm Kelly Rangel, and I'm the college receptionist. I'm Lindsay Lowry, and I'm the division assistant for the biology, engineering, and physical science department. I'm the school and program specialist.
Hi, I'm David Zediker, and I'm the Division Assistant for Performing Arts.
Hi, I'm Gwen Altschuler. I'll be a part-time English teacher.
Hi, I'm Diane Otten, part-time faculty in communication studies.
Hello, my name is Chris Clayton, and I'm part-time faculty for welding.
Hi, my name is Katrin Cunningham, and I'm a member of the Performing Arts faculty. I'll be teaching voice lessons.
My name is Mark Dart, and I'm an instructor in the Aviation Maintenance Program.
My name is Sierra Fiesel, and I'm the new psychology faculty member.
Dr. Jeff, local science faculty.
Hello, I'm Christina Barrow, and I will be an Adults with Disabilities instructor.
Shannon Cuesta, York County Campus, GAD, part-time faculty.
Hello, I'm Mark Henderson. I'm continuing education faculty, and I'm teaching the California Commercial Driver's License Theory class.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hopper, and I'm a new librarian at the North County campus. I'm a part-time instructor for the Aviation Maintenance Program.
Hi, I'm Tammy Leenstra, and I'm a nursing instructor.
I'm Ken Miller. I teach with the Continuing Education Emeritus Program in Morobe.
Renato Provenzano, ESL faculty.
My name is Anna Nelson, and I am in the music department teaching clarinet and saxophone lessons.
Hello, my name is Josué Valdez. I'm a part-time faculty member here teaching communication studies.
Hi, I'm Lindy Winter, and I'll be an instructor in the architecture department. My name is Jennifer Burchett. I'm the Interim Vice President of Human Resources.
Kevin Portman, Associate Director of Radio and Range Operations.
I'm Executive, Executive Assistant to the President, Superintendent, and the Board of Trustees.
Hi, I'm He's a Cluster 1, STEM.
Executive Director of Foundation and Institutional Advancement.
HR Specialist. Hi everyone, my name is Sybil Smith. I'm the new Director of Financial Aid, and I look forward to meeting everyone. Good morning, my name is Tracy Strong. I'm the Supervisor for EOPS, CARE, and CalWorks programs.
As always, a very special thanks to our marketing department for the video introduction of our newest employees. We are so glad to welcome new members of the Cuesta College team. And a huge thank you to those of you who participated in the hiring process to help bring these people on board. Cuesta College has a beloved tradition of acknowledging milestones with pins recognizing years of service, beginning with the 5-year anniversary. This year's employees reaching 5-year milestones of service will be recognized in our spring opening day program. I just want to say that the departure of VP Richardson exposed a gap and created an opportunity for a new custom report to be developed. So, sorry about the delay. We do want to recognize and appreciate our colleagues who are now enjoying retirement. Congratulations to all of our recent retirees. We appreciate your legacy of service and wish you a retirement that is long and fulfilling. Thank you for your dedication to students and to our community. Before our special recognitions, I'm happy to announce the winner of the lunch RSVP random drawing. This is really important. The only time we have not had enough food was when we served Indian. And we can't guess who's going to be here, and so we really appreciate everyone who RSVP'd. The $50 Amazon gift card goes to Brett Clark. And we will have that for you at lunch. Congratulations. We begin our special recognitions with the 2025 Jedi Academy cohort. The Jedi Academy co-facilitators are delighted to present these 31 graduates of the Spring 2025 cohort. Since the Jedi Academy began in 2021, there have been 124 faculty members who have committed themselves to improving equitable outcomes for their students by completing this intense collaborative program. These 124 faculty members are now eligible to participate in the Jedi Community of Practice, where they can continue their engagement in this valuable work. We would also like to extend immense gratitude to the 3 Jedi co-facilitators who have concluded their service and will not be continuing in this role. Sabrina Rock, 1 year of service, Dr. Rachel Barnett, 3 years of service, and Dr. Matthew Davis, 5 years of service, and one of the original Jedi co-facilitators who helped create the program. Thank you for your Our Classified Employee of the Year. The nomination comments include: this individual consistently goes above and beyond, offering technical support, thoughtful guidance, and proactive solutions. Moves work forward with intention, collaboration, and an incredible level of responsiveness. They demonstrate professionalism, calm leadership, and kindness that builds trust across departments. They're an incredible collaborator with faculty and have a quiet but immense passion for our students, programs, and Cuesta College. It's easy to overlook their contributions because they keep things running so smoothly that most people don't even realize how much they do for everyone behind the scenes. Their work may not always be front-facing, but it is the foundation on which so many other successes are built. I loved that. Their love of a spreadsheet keeps everything moving along with no balls dropped. They are the unsung hero of student success at Cuesta and a shining example of service to the community. This year's Classified Employee of the Year is Monica Fiscalini.
So much. That really sounded like me. It sounded like a great chick. I love working here with all of you, and thank you so much for the recognition.
Congratulations, Monica. Academic Employee of the Year. The nomination comments included: they foster an inclusive and supportive learning environment, making sure students from diverse backgrounds feel valued and empowered. They actively collaborate with colleagues to enhance curriculum and learning resources. Kindness, professionalism, and grace serve as a role model for both faculty and students. Not only uplifts students, but also strengthens the entire academic community. Advocates for part-time faculty, champions effective scheduling, and promotes community engagement. Ensures decisions are made with transparency and collective input. They're deeply committed to acting in accordance with justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion to fulfilling the college's responsibilities as an HSI. They champion equitable access to education by ensuring students have free textbooks wherever possible. This year's Academic Employee of the Year is Amy Kaiser.
I appreciate it. I hope everybody has a great start to their semester.
Congratulations, Amy. The Management Senate Employee of the Year. The nomination comments include: they embody the difference between a leader and a manager. They roll up their sleeves when needed, are always open to an informal chat, and makes it known that all people are welcome at Cuesta. They're thorough, resourceful, and solutions-oriented. Their open door policy creates an inclusive and supportive environment where everyone feels heard and valued. They step into leadership roles on various committees and task forces where their vision and work ethic have made immeasurable impact. They actively participate in student life, frequently volunteering for events that foster engagement and community. Their presence and enthusiasm help create meaningful connections between students and staff. They're a cornerstone of our campus community, embodying the values of service, collaboration, and continuous improvement. This year's Management Senate Employee of the Year is Cinda Bitts.
But thanks to them.
The President's Leadership Award was renamed in 2010 to recognize former Superintendent President Dr. Marie E. Rosenwasser. The award is reserved for any employee who uses leadership skills to tackle a problem, who takes some risk, who is patient and persistent, and who achieves a result that brings about institutional change. A leader recognizes a need, analyzes the problem, finds resources, plans solutions, and acts. The nominators noted, they bring an unmatched energy and passion to our campus, ensuring that every student feels supported, valued, and encouraged. They foster meaningful connections with students, faculty, community partners, and campus departments that strengthens the student experience. They consistently go above and beyond to create a welcoming, supportive, and enriching environment for everyone they encounter. They radiate kindness, patience, and an unwavering commitment to our shared goals. Makes Cuesta not just a place to learn, but a place to belong. Arrives with a smile every day, uplifting those around them with their positivity and warmth. They approach each task with meticulous care and a heartfelt commitment to making a difference. Has literally been serving the college since they were a child. They are a Cuesta Cougar through and through. The winner of the Dr. Marie E. Rosenwasser President's Leadership Award is Nikki Rocha.
Never stop learning, and we got this. So thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Nikki. Academic Senate Council President Eric Tucker will present the Teaching Excellence Award.
Each year, we honor a faculty member who exemplifies excellence in teaching. Someone whose dedication to student success, pedagogical innovation, and collegial mentorship goes far beyond the classroom. Today's recipient is no exception. This individual began their journey at Cuesta nearly 3 decades ago and has since become the cornerstone of a specific division. Their influence stretches across generations of students and colleagues alike, from co-developing foundational curriculum and critical thinking to mentoring others in best practices for course design that have modeled a tireless commitment to improvement and collaboration. Years before it became the norm, this faculty member was already pioneering online education. During the sudden shift to remote learning in March 2020, they became the division's lifeline, sharing guidance on how to build a Canvas module, craft engaging content, and simplify course structures to better support students. More than just a tech guide, they help faculty develop confidence, clarity, and creativity in a time of crisis. The impact didn't stop at the screen. As a long-serving member of the Faculty Professional Development Committee, the DE Committee, and the Academic Senate, they consistently brought new ideas from conferences back to the college. They've led flex sessions on pedagogy that included powerful student voices, helping faculty reflect and grow. Their OEI certified courses are models of accessibility and rigor. But perhaps most inspiring in their consistent focus on student-centered innovations, from embedding audio versions of readings to mentoring student tutors and encouraging Connect Thursday events with PISA and peer support. This faculty member understands that community and compassion are just as essential to learning as grammar and grades. Their work with embedded tutoring, writing-centered collaborations, and college tutors' engagement has helped redefine how we think about academic support. They're not just building better classrooms, they're building a stronger and more connected campus and community. In short, they have been a mentor, a leader, and an unwavering advocate for students and colleagues. They demonstrate excellence not only in what they teach, but in how they lift others up to teach and learn beside them. Please join me in celebrating this year's recipient of the Teaching Excellence Award, Matt Fleming.
Well, that's really nice to hear. And, you know, I have to say, it's a crazy world right now, but coming to work and being with our students and all of you makes it have a lot more sense and meaning. And please know that this year is another year of working on the same things, and send your students to our Success Center and our Writing Center. They need the extra community and the extra support, and I'm there to help make that possible. Thank you all. Thank you.
Please join me in once again congratulating all of those honored today for their excellence in service. Vice President of Instruction, Dr. Jason Curtis, will present area updates first.
Good morning, Cuesta. How's everyone doing? That was actually quite good. You guys ready for some good news? Oh, I'll go get one of the other vice presidents. No, it was a great year at Cuesta last year, and this year is going to be another one. So let's start off with why I know it was good last year. Enrollment. It always falls to me to talk about our enrollment, and enrollment last year for the spring was up just about 2%, but for the full year was up 4.7%. You can see the contribution of traditional credit to that 4.7%. If you're wondering how could the full year be up 4.7 when traditional credit was only up 3.6, you understand we have other sources of FTES, and some of those have grown a lot and are doing really well right now. The only other thing I want to point out about this particular number, this 7759, so the college has not been above 8,000 FTES for 13 years. If we grow by 3.1% this year, we will break the 8,000 barrier, and I am really confident that we're going to be able to do that this year. Here's why. Here's our summer that just ended. Cuesta had never been above 900 FTES in the summer, and we broke 950. And summer counts. Summer is the leading term. It's the first term in the academic year, so we've already got this 958 in the bank as we work our way toward 8,000. Here's a graph I show almost every fall. Total FTES going back over the last decade. Obviously the dip, we all know something happened back there, and we've steadily grown back. This is just fall, full-time equivalent students. And the contributions of the bulk of our instruction is the green bar at the bottom. You may be looking at this and thinking, oh no, fall is lower than it was last time. Remember, we have a lot of credit that comes in during the semester. Late start classes, still some enrollment that will happen over the next couple weeks, as you all know. So this is on track to be at or just a little above last fall, the green portion of the bar. And then I always like to zoom in on the top portion to show some of those other sources of FTES and apportionment. And so you can see from last fall, this is dual enrollment and CCAP, the contribution that it makes to our total FTES. I'm glad you all recognize that. 6,000 student enrollments last year, over 6,000 for our first time ever in dual enrollment. So that was huge. Tutoring is coming back. So, and even the justice impacted student programs are growing again. So I really am optimistic that we will break that 8,000 barrier for this coming academic year. Speaking of things coming up in this academic year, hopefully you're all aware that we are a year away from our first 16-week semester. The 16-week calendar was approved by the board for 26-27 at their July meeting over the summer. That had been approved through, recommended through governance back in the spring. And so it's pretty significant. Fall 26, it still feels like a ways away, except it's not. Because of the way we do schedule development and other things, our course schedule development begins in October. This is also significant because this will be the first fall schedule in a long time that will need to be built completely from scratch. So no rolling sections from before and keeping them in the same place they were. That's just not going to work because the course lengths, the section meeting times all need to change. So it is going to be a significant undertaking. Be kind to your division chairs and the schedulers in the Office of Instruction as we work through this. It's going to be more complicated than usual, take a little longer than usual to get that fall 26 schedule built. A couple things, we've worked on some schedule blocks to try to move toward uniform start and end times. Again, those course lengths, those course meeting lengths are going to change. Tentatively planning on a college hour at this point scheduled for, that update there. I think it's right now 11:15 to 12:15 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, during which there will be very few classes so that students can engage with other activities and seek support services. We're going to be using a software suite from Ad Astra to work on schedule development and enrollment management. That's going to help with this complex schedule development piece, try to make us a little more data-driven. And then the other big change for the 16-week calendar, as you look at the actual academic schedule, is this will be the last year that we have flex days in October. Those are going to go away. But the change is that there will be no classes the week of Thanksgiving. So here's what that looks like. For those of you who don't teach, the campus is not closed. Campuses are not closed the week of Thanksgiving. There are just no classes. Yeah, sorry to squash your enthusiasm. We will have 4 flex days at the beginning of each semester, scheduled to start on August 17th next year. All the way through, there's the lack of flex days in October, Labor Day, Veterans Day. There's that break, 3 days without classes before Thanksgiving, and then the semester ending on December 11th. You might think, well, we could have started a week later, couldn't we? That would have made grades due at noon on the 23rd, and the deans and I and admissions and records don't want to be calling people on the afternoon of the 23rd trying to track down missing grades. So we're going to start on the 17th and end on the 11th. A couple last notes. So we have had some dean vacancies. We've had some turnover. My thanks to Dean Erin Nagley as she returns to full-time faculty. And you just met in the introduction video our newest Dean, Carlos Moreno from Cluster 1, or STEM. Aubrey continues in her role in Cluster 2. Approved at the board on Wednesday night, David Kadanoff will be the dean for this large rearranged Cluster 3, And he will join us at the end of September. He's relocating from a community college in upstate New York. And the final missing dean in Cluster 4 did not make it to the board meeting on Wednesday night for approval, but offer accepted, should be on the September board agenda, and has a start date of September 15th. So by the end of September, we'll have all deans in place once again, and we should be rolling in the Office of Instruction. So looking forward to that, believe me. Last one. If you hit this QR code right now, that's great. Please don't start watching videos in the middle of opening day, or at least silence your phone if you're going to. But I wanted you to know about these. This is a playlist that Richie and marketing team have put together showcasing 12 of our career education programs. These are about 2.5 minutes long, so they're longer videos. Who knows, maybe you'll see them at the theater next time you go to watch a feature-length film, if anyone still does that. In various places, we're going to figure out how to use these videos. We're about to launch a new Cuesta website, and the programs featured here, will be able to use these videos on the program web pages, and these were all made with our Strong Workforce Program funding. So please do check out a couple of them, all of them when you get a chance. Congratulate your colleagues that you will see in those videos. Tell them they did a good job. It's terrifying to be featured in these videos and know that the whole world is going to watch you and you never feel good about how you look on camera. Reassure people that the videos are great, and just let's celebrate our great work in career education. These are not all of our programs, of course. They're ones that we want to showcase and promote enrollment in. So if your programs or a program you were thinking of is not listed here, don't worry. If these work out, we may see others in the future. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Stearns, who's standing in for Dr. Hampton.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, sorry to disappoint you. I will just say that we've heard COVID a couple of times already today, or references. We no longer have to track or report or do anything to that, but I will just say that there are still super spreader events. And Dr. Hampton is not feeling well. So just a couple of quick updates from the area of administrative services. Public safety is really excited to welcome 2 new officers. We saw them this morning in the video, and I hope that you will soon have a chance to introduce yourself and get to know them. They have been very visible on campus this summer as they have been onboarding and orienting and learning all about Cuesta College. Food trucks, we have more this year. And so excited that Slow Dog is coming back. Leslie's will be here on Tuesday and Thursday this year. Grapevine Catering is going to fill that Wednesday slot. And in addition, I just have to give incredible credit to Karen Valine, who has really taken this on. And we also have some food trucks to stand as backup that won't be here regularly, but are willing to come on short notice when one of our regularly scheduled vendors cannot be here. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Karen. Bookstore. So hours of operation posted here. Our big news is one of Cuesta's own. You probably know her from the Student Health Center, but Leanne Reimer is going to be Cuesta's bookstore manager. Transition into that role, and appreciate Barnes & Noble's responsiveness to Cuesta College this summer. And now I am excited to introduce to you our Interim Assistant Superintendent Vice President of Human Resources, Jennifer Burchett. Jennifer brings nearly 3 decades of experience in education, including 23 years in progressively responsible roles within human resources. She holds an MBA from New Charter University and a Bachelor's of Business Administration from CSU Dominguez Hills. A proud graduate of the California Community College System, Jennifer's journey was as a first-generation single-parent college student, and that inspires her commitment to equity, inclusion, and student success. Her leadership is grounded in collaboration, compassion, and a deep understanding of the transformative power of education. Jennifer is excited to align HR practices with Cuesta College's mission of community enrichment and student achievement. Outside of work, she's a passionate music fan who has attended over 150 live performances. Please join me in welcoming Jennifer. This is her second day. And now Dr. Elizabeth Correa will provide an update from Student Success and Support Programs.
Good morning. Good morning. How are we doing? Good morning. Always so excited about semester. All right, well, we saved the best to the last. I'm going to keep mine pretty brief in the update as we want to have enough time to be able to have our facilitators start their part of today's session. So today I really want to focus on strategic tailored assistance retention, which we're going to refer to as STAR Signal. Some of you might have attended Wednesday's professional development session on STAR. But this was a really great collaborative work that was we started in the spring semester under the leadership of Dr. Espinoza Wade, Dr. Kahane, and also our Office of Instruction, as we really embark on enhancing our case management work. So part of the case management is really now this end piece of STAR, where we can really start putting the STAR as a resource for faculty to be able to start supporting and helping students. And it's going to be a referral process that is going to be facilitated through a platform that we refer to as Cuesta Connect. STAR is a really proactive way to ensure students are connected to resources, and they're tailored specifically for academic support. So in cases where there's some inconsistent class attendance, maybe there's challenges with quizzes or exams, there's difficulty in completing or submitting assignments, there's challenges with the assignment quality, and there's a sudden decline in academic performance. So if you're noticing any of those type of behaviors in the classroom, you will have the ability now to submit a STAR signal in order for student success support programs to be able to follow up with those students and provide them with the intentional support in order to assist with the situation. And again, why are we doing STAR? It is to support student retention and increase completion efforts. We want to be able to have term-to-term persistence, and then also able to increase the percentage of students that are earning a certificate or associate degree. We want to be also able to normalize asking for help from our students, and encouraging the use of academic support services. Now, the only thing that with STAR Signal, it is not going to replace any of existing forms or practice that some of you might already be familiar with, and one of them is the Student Code of Conduct Incident Report form. That form will still be utilized under a different platform, which is the Maxian. So if there's any student conduct matters, you will still continue to use that form to report any incidents. Also for the student complaint and resolution process, we will still continue to use the current same process. Student support referral, so if there is still need of basic needs or wellness, well-being reports, those are all still being conducted under the same Maxian platform. And any disability support programs and services will continue with the current process. So Signal is really just being utilized with our Cuesta Connect platform. Cuesta Connect will be the platform already we launched this back in spring of 2024, and it was originally just being used within student success support programs for referral basis to connect students to services. Students have the ability to be able to connect on demand with staff. They can make appointments with staff to be able to help support them moving forward. And then now we'll be able to utilize it for STAR Signal as well. There'll be more additional information to come with more flex sessions and more resources as well. We thought this was an important opportunity as we pilot this in the summer semester, but now we are fully going to be launching this fall 2025 semester. Okay. So with that, on behalf of Student Success and Support Programs, have a wonderful fall 2025 semester. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. If you will bear with me the next few minutes. I am going to stick to my notes because we are on a tight timeline this morning. So as we look into our fall term, as anticipated, AI is still relevant. Last year, the Academic Senate Council Task Force made recommendations for adoption of AI syllabi statements and additions to the Student Code of Conduct. Over the summer, it was announced that AI faculty tools had been embedded in Canvas. And this came forward with quite a bit of consternation being voiced across our system. But indications are that this emerging trend of embedding AI in digital tools is going to continue to expand, and it's important that Cuesta College establish policy to guide our institutional use. And so that is on our horizon in the short term. We have some work to do in the area of AI. So I've been working this summer to really build my skill in using AI. I read several articles that really challenged people in higher education to do so. And I've been trying different tools and applications, and I've had really widely varying success. Quite frankly, the list of AI tools to explore is overwhelming. I've had less than stellar results in my attempts at graphic design using AI. Yeah, I don't draw very well either. But I have reached a point where I am proficient in developing case studies. I can come up with a case study in just seconds using AI. And since part of what I do over the last 8 summers has been engaging to assist the development of new presidents on our system, that's been really helpful. Most importantly, I've learned that it's the design of the prompts that's the key to getting the desired result. So I am all in when there is training opportunity on prompt development. I continue to read about AI in higher education, and I've been fascinated by the mixed findings in student studies. Just recently read that more than half of students have a positive attitude about using AI for education, and more than half of students are highly concerned about the impact of AI on their learning. In our community, I've been talking regularly with individuals whose business sectors are being impacted by AI. Just last week, a local CPA shared how AI is changing entry-level jobs for accountants. I was aware that it was impacting computer programming and customer service sectors, but I had no idea that it was impacting accounting. So this statement from the Wall Street Journal really brought to light for me the impact to our recent and soon-to-be graduates in the workplace. If entry-level professional jobs are being replaced with AI, how do we prepare our students for next-level jobs? I think it really shifts the question that's at the heart of our program review, and thinking about how we prepare students to enter the ever-changing workplace. In the next few weeks, a draft of the Educational Master Plan will be shared for review and feedback. The process is going to be similar to that of the ACCJC midterm report, where you'll be able to submit your input directly to the EMP task force. The collected feedback will be used to inform a final draft that will undergo governance review. The draft plan is a 4-year term. It includes actionable goals and objectives, a limited number to really direct our work, and it will serve as the foundation for our updated facilities master plan and will inform the Governance Review Task Force 2.0. So the Governance Review Task Force was recommended by the first one, who did the work of really investigating our current structures and made a recommendation that a new Task Force 2.0 be convened to really dive in and propose committee and council membership and roles and responsibilities. The recommendations that come forward from this group will be instrumental in revising our planning manual and participatory governance handbook in alignment with those changes. This group will be facilitated by Dr. Todd Hampton. No, not just because he's absent today. that decision was made earlier, and we'll be putting out the call very quickly to get representatives to serve in this capacity. Campus climate. So there are 3 campus climate committees who have been meeting regularly and really engaged in this work. Collaboratively, they have determined that this is going to be the year of communication, and our keynote speaker today really kicks that off for us. It's going to be followed up with a positive communication solution survey. It was developed by the Faculty Campus Climate Committee and then adopted and revised by both the management and classified campus climate committees, and is going out specifically to each of those groups for input in the next couple of weeks. We're going to follow this up with some Flex Day workshops by the National Conflict Resolution Center in October and in January. They're going to be open to everyone and will include opportunities on the North County for participation. So lots more is coming. The big opportunity is for you to join in the work. These are incredibly collaborative groups that are working very diligently and purposefully, and there is more seats, more room at the table. So if you have interest, we do hope that you will step up and join. After much wait, a new organizational chart has been launched. You can find this on the Cuesta website on the President's page. You can see the breadcrumb trail there. This work was started by Chelsea Friedenberg when she was our campus receptionist, and then when she was promoted, Taylor Valenzuela really grabbed this project and has brought it to completion. Yay, Taylor. So what is incredible about this particular solution is if you click on any of the colored boxes, you can drill in and continue to drill in. And so this organizational chart is actually the entire institution. So you can look at any area that you would like. So thank you very much, Taylor. This is going to continue to be maintained by Human Resources and be a great resource for our community. So those of you who were present last fall may recall that I talked about answering the question, what do you do? I shared that my answer, both to my son and to the Aspen Institute, was that I think about the future of Cuesta College. In every conversation, partnership, community engagement, meeting, discussion, decision, and planning session, I think about how does this impact students and what are the long-term potential implications for Cuesta College. In this last year, so much has changed. I chose this image of a supernova, and some of you might even recognize that it's Cassiopeia A. It's the stellar explosion marking the end of a star's life. Because while I am still thinking about the future of Cuesta College, it is far more complex than it was before. We are in an unprecedented era in which, if we are following the current interpretations from the Department of Education, we are not compliant with California legislation and education code. At this moment in time, depending upon the perspective of the observer, we are doing the right thing or doing something wrong. In all of this, at this moment in time, Cuesta College is a place of opportunity and hope. We will continue to do the best we can do. We will continue to educate, engage, support, and serve students with care, compassion, and excellence. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Ashley Virtue. Ashley has been with the National Conflict Resolution Center since 2005. She has been instrumental in the development and promotion of multiple mainstay programs at NCRC and has focused much of her career expanding NCRC's work nationally and internationally. In recent years, Ashley has worked diligently to position NCRC as a global thought leader in the field of conflict resolution. She has been featured in media outlets such as Forbes, The Washington Post, C-SPAN, NPR, Pop Sugar, and many others. Please join me in welcoming to Cuesta College, Ashley Virtue.
Hello everyone, how wonderful to be with you today. Forgive me as I just pop open the PowerPoint here. All right, well I want to say congratulations to all of the award winners. That was really wonderful to sit back there and listen to the incredible achievements of the folks in this room. And I'm honored to be here with you today and get this going. Okay, we're ready. Clark has my back there, I think. We're set. Right? I know y'all can hear me. All right. I'm just gonna start. There we go. That looks good. All right. Well, it's such a pleasure to be here. What do you think about this topic? The lost art of disagreement. Anybody feeling that? We've got a lost art of disagreement situation happening here. And the reason that I titled this The Lost Art of Disagreement is that there is an art to disagreement, right? There's this thing, this beauty in it when it's done well, when it's done effectively. There's this beauty to disagreement where we challenge our perceptions of a situation. We learn from someone else. We grow in our thinking, and maybe we help others grow in their thinking. But we've really just societally come to a place where disagreement is a bad word. Disagreement isn't something we're allowed to do anymore in a healthy way. We can't. There are barriers to that. And so what I hope to do today in our brief amount of time together is walk through some of the findings that we have observed at the National Conflict Resolution Center and talk through some really practical strategies for how we can maybe still return to a place where disagreement is healthy and is okay. Because let's face it, we need some disagreement in our lives, and it's coming either way. It's going to be in our lives. So we need ways to be able to do it more effectively. And I'm sure everyone in this room can think of many instances where disagreement has been a positive thing. It's led to something better eventually. And so how do we bring people along in that journey? Now, what gives me the authority to talk about any of this? If you aren't familiar with the work of the National Conflict Resolution Center, we have been in business for about 42 years, since 1983. Our work is really comprised of a few things. We train, so we do lots of traveling around the country, speaking engagements, but also doing trainings for organizations, companies, training everything from frontline staff who are dealing with disgruntled members of the public to, C-suite who are trying to do strategic planning and wrestling through difficult meetings. We also do a lot of facilitation. So that's where we come in and we kind of get in those messy town halls or those county board of supervisor meetings and we kind of help put structure to those when they go awry. And then we do on the individual to individual basis, we do mediation where we come in and we actually bring people together in conflict and we provide, the neutral third party to help them work through it. So the reason I mention all of that is that we have really seen the nature of conflict change over the last, of course, few decades, but really over the last 10 years. And I bet you can relate to that, right? You probably, if you get that sense of conflict is different today than it was before, you are correct. We have studied it. That is true. You're not wrong in thinking that. And so a big question that we get all the time is, how did we get here? What happened? What caused this whole thing to come about? And without wanting to trivialize it, I do want to point to an important moment in history. Good old 2020. Of course, we were building to a place that we saw kind of public debate and discourse devolving. We saw that happening prior to 2020, certainly. But some really specific things happened in 2020 that I think are worth paying attention to. I think are worth talking about a little bit, because it does help us to deconstruct a little bit why we are where we are so that we can rebuild a bit. So, of course, the pandemic, right? That's the most obvious thing. And I know we're all a little exhausted from looking back at the pandemic and all the things that have happened since it, but recognizing that, yes, COVID itself hitting, the idea that we all had to go into a much smaller sense of community immediately, urgently, unexpectedly during that year, and our bubbles got much, much smaller, had a huge, huge influence on us and on our ability to communicate, even just given the opportunities to. And then there were highly contested debates happening in our circles, right? Vaccines themselves, that was hugely controversial. Who should get them? Who shouldn't? Do we need them to go back to work? Our kids, should they be at school or should they be home? What's better for them overall? We were also in the midst that year of a huge conversation around racial injustice after the murder of George Floyd. And our country was very divided in what should happen. Then you think about the political division. That was an election year. It's unbelievable when you think about how divisive that year really was in our society, especially in the United States. We're dealing with all of these huge debates. And they were all fueled by the fact that we had less opportunity to go out and engage with one another in conversation about them. And so, what was happening? We were being fed information that largely agreed with us, right? We were being fed information, and we really found ourselves stuck in our echo chambers, even more so than we were before. Because we could all recognize, I think, in the years prior, that we were stuck in our echo chambers. And I think the election 4 years prior was a big wake-up call to many of us, because we thought, wow, I really thought I had a temperature on what was going on out there, and maybe I don't. But when we saw that, yes, the news feed I'm getting is what agrees with me. The social media feed I'm getting is what agrees with me. And probably, not for all of us, but probably the people in my household during that year where we were kind of limited in our community are probably people who think maybe somewhat like me. And so we just had less opportunity for what I like to call micro disagreements. Micro disagreements are those opportunities that we have on a daily basis to interact with someone who may see things differently than you. This could be at the grocery store, this could be at work, this could be at a PTA meeting. But those opportunities to just kind of have to put on your patient's hat, have to put on your listening hat, and work with them on something, we lost that for about 2 years. So put all of this together. Put the fact that we got out of practice because we didn't have our micro disagreement opportunities. Put into the equation that there were very controversial, highly debated, divisive issues happening in that year or two that were dividing us as a country and as a society. And then add in the fact that we were stuck in our echo chambers. My work is to help people dialogue. And I remember specifically trying to seek out other opinions than my own. And it was like the algorithm was fighting me. Like, the algorithm was like, no, you don't want to read that. You want to read this. And I'm going, no, I want to see what the other side is saying about this. I'm actually curious. I need to know. And it was so hard to change my feed. And that was me actively trying to do it. So no matter how balanced you were trying to be, it was very challenging. So I think it's important for us to look at this, because we have to kind of recognize that we did have this kind of, the chasm was there, And then it went like triple the size. And then all of a sudden, society kind of reopened and we were supposed to all come back and work together and, do all these things, and a lot had changed. A lot had changed. And so, it's always been a part of a workplace to have to navigate things like personality clashes, right? Or warring egos, or, limited resources and how those are distributed, and even really tricky things like union, non-union stuff. But in your job, hey, it's not going to be perfect and easy all the time. I'm going to meet people that I maybe don't get along with all the time. But it usually, historically, hasn't been part of a job to navigate like big, divisive issues. And these things found their way into our workplaces. Now in higher education, it's always been a great space for looking at big issues, right? Talking with students about them, being able to engage in conversations. But I'm sure you even found that whether it was in the classroom or with colleagues or with members of the public, some of these issues people came in very set, unwilling to learn, very set with what they were going to think about this. And so the workplace did get more complicated. It got more complicated because now we need to know, where do we stand on this? What's our messaging here? And instead of a dialogue around it, it was more of one person's gonna maybe have to make a decision and then we're gonna have to kind of love it or leave it kind of thing, right? And so we just kind of stopped. Again, we kept in that mode because these were really tricky issues of we're not talking about them as much. And I'm not saying Cuesta, I'm saying societally. We're not talking about them as much because, if I hear that you don't agree with me on this, I'm probably just going to either avoid you completely or jump to the attack and do my darndest to fact check you and change your mind right here and right now. I'm probably not super effective in that. So we get to this place where we have to think about how are we going to approach this. So we have come up with an acronym that I'm going to walk us through this morning. And the presentation is The Lost Art of Disagreement. So this is the art. This is the art of effective disagreement, effective dialogue. And I want to walk through a few pieces of this with you today as a groundwork for kicking off this next academic year. And so there's 3 pieces to it. There's the active awareness that we have when we go into these conversations. There is how you respond respectfully, especially when you don't agree necessarily. And then how you can even potentially troubleshoot together. How do you even get to that point where that's possible? Now there's versions of this that we do that are like a 3-hour-long interactive workshop. We're obviously not doing all of that today, so I'm going to be doing some overview. But I also welcome, and I think the room is not so big that we couldn't do this, I welcome questions. I welcome the opportunity to say, well, Ashley, thank you, but how would that work in this scenario or with this kind of person? I would love for this to be practical and applicable. And I bet that some of the skills I'm going to talk about, you already have some foundation for. You are probably really utilizing some of these skills and pieces of it. And so I just want to add to the toolbox a little bit today. All right? So diving into the A, this is like almost my favorite part of the whole process, because the active awareness part is not at all about anything you say or any body language or anything. The active awareness part is kind of the prep work you're doing in your brain prior to even getting into challenging conversations. And a couple key pieces of our active awareness that I want us to think about are how we recognize any communication style differences that are at play, and then how we might need to check any bias or ego that we have in the situation. I don't know about all of you, but I'm always right, so this one's not a problem for me, but I think it's really hard, especially if you are someone who ferociously defends bias and wants to just be someone that's helping other people be aware of it. But we have to look for bias. We all have it, and we might have it for really justified reasons, but we have to look for that as part of it. So let me talk a little bit about the communication style differences, because I find this very fascinating. Think about this. There are usually 2 levels to any conflict. The first is just the disagreement itself, what you disagree on. But the second level is the way that we expect the other person to respond to it. And this is what typically escalates conflict. So, if I go into a situation and we have a conflict, and I'm going, well, I know how he's going to react because that's how I would react, and then he doesn't, I'm like, ugh, he's so passive-aggressive, right? Or, oh, and we kind of put this label to it, and we escalate the situation in our own heads. And it is really important that we understand that there are absolutely communication style differences. And we have studied the work of Dr. Mitchell Hammer. I don't know if any of you have ever studied his work, but he looked specifically at communication styles in conflict. So this is not our resting style. This is not kind of like how your style would be right now. But when your brain is triggered to that fight, flight, freeze mode, when your survivor brain has kicked in, what is your style? So I'm going to ask you, as I walk through these 4 styles, to think about what your style might be as we go through it. Just think about what your style might be. And my guess is that some of you will feel like, well, I have one style at home, that's a little different, and then one style at work. So for the purposes of this conversation, since we're kind of in the workplace, let's think about our style at work more so. And so think about which one you might be. All right, so if you are discussion style, and Dr. Hammer really studied 2 variables. The first is how direct of a communicator you are in conflict, and the second is how much you express how the situation impacted you. It says emotionally expressive, emotionally restrained. I hesitate sometimes to use the words emotionally because a lot of us hate the F word, feelings. And so this does not mean you are emotional. It just means part of the conversation for you is expressing how it impacted you. The conversation's not done unless you've also been able to express how it impacted you. So if you are discussion style, you are a direct communicator, but less likely to talk about how the situation impacted you. So you're probably going to want to address it sooner rather than later, and just kind of stick to the issue itself. Whereas, if you're engagement style, you also want to address it sooner than later, and part of the conversation is, that was really frustrating for me, right? Now, if you're accommodation style, you're more of an indirect communicator. You may need some more time to process, right? Get your thoughts together before you're ready to talk about it. And when you do talk about it, maybe it's face-to-face, maybe it's not. But in your preference and your best case scenario, you kind of, it's a little more indirect. And you are also going to kind of just stick to the facts more so than how it impacted you. But if you're a dynamic style, you're also more of the indirect communicator, but you are going to talk about how the situation impacted you. Now, there's no right or wrong style here at all. We see leadership and success in every single style. So I'll give you an example of a scenario that happened to me as you're thinking about which style you are in the workplace and in conflict. So I had a team temporarily join my team for a large project. So I had my full-time team, and then I had these 4 other members of another team that were just for a few months assigned to work with my team so we could finish this project. And one of those other members, who I had worked with for years, but not under my direct supervision, was overwhelmed by the project and the workload. We all were. And at one point, I had sent her a note and I said, hey, I really need that evaluation compilation and I need it like by close of business tomorrow. And she wrote me back and said, my workload doesn't allow for this. I'm going to have to politely decline this request. And I didn't like that. So, okay, let's look at it here. If I am discussion style, potentially I get up from my desk and walk into her office and say, hey, I just got your email. I know you're very overwhelmed. I think we all are. However, we need to figure something out because I do need this by tomorrow. Okay? If I'm engagement style, same. I kind of get up, maybe go into her office. Hey, I know you're overwhelmed. We all are, but we got to work together because, you know, we got to get this done by tomorrow. And honestly, the tone of that was a little disrespectful. Okay? That one difference. For me, I need to kind of express that that felt disrespectful. Now, if I'm accommodation style, maybe I sit on it for a minute. I might even go home and sleep on it. Really think about how I want to respond. When I respond, it might be going into her office. It might be sending an email back, expressing those same points. Expressing that, you know, hey, I know you're busy, but we have to get this done, so let's work together to figure that out, okay? And then if I'm dynamic style, okay, one of the things that could happen is I go home, maybe I sleep on it, maybe I send the email. I definitely express in that email that it felt disrespectful. Maybe, and this happens with dynamic style a lot, maybe I even talk to someone else about it to help me process, someone trusted. So you can imagine how, for example, a discussion style person who wants to address something immediately and does not want to talk about how it's impacted them, just wants to move on, hears that I went and discussed this with someone else, didn't even come to me initially, and now I went and talked it through, and then I get, what, an email the next morning? If it's that important, come and talk to me. You can see how that goes, and vice versa, right? So these communication style differences and conflict make a huge difference. So I'm going to ask you to do something slightly interactive. No one has to move, but if I could ask you all to find just one partner, just one person sitting next to you or near you. Let me give you a second to do that. Just find one person to work with, if you will. It'll be fun, I promise. And if you're sitting somewhere kind of far from someone, maybe tap someone on the shoulder, say, can I join you? All right, does anyone need a partner? Are we good? Perfect. Okay, so here's what I want you to do with your partner. Number one, share the style you have identified that you are. And then I want you to talk about these two questions. The first is, how do you want people to show respect to your style? What does that look like? So let me give you about 4 minutes to discuss that. So each of you share, oh, yes?
Can you put the slide back that
I sure will. Absolutely, yes. What style am I? I don't know. Absolutely. So, but this is the first question. So share which style you are, and then how do you want people to show respect to your style? All right, I'll give you about 4 minutes, and then I don't know if any of you do this, but I do this trick where when I'm ready for us to kind of come back together, I'm actually just going to raise my hand up here, and if you see me raising my hand, if I could just ask you to raise your hand as well and kind of stop talking at that time, it's actually a really effective way, and I don't have to yell and whistle and do all the embarrassing things that facilitators have to do. So, all right, go ahead. I'll give you about 4 minutes, and I'll put this other slide back up. award of all the presentations I've done lately. That was record time. Thank you. Stay with your duo really quickly. One other question I want us to think about. So we just talked about how you want people to show respect to your style. This might have started to come up for you, but to further our thinking on this, how could you, given your style, show respect to other styles? So let me give you about 3 more minutes to just have that discussion. How can you now show respect to other styles? Indulging in the interaction. I would guess that some themes came up. If I could ask just anyone in the room who is discussion style and feels brave, what is one way someone can show respect to your style? Who's discussion? Yes. Yes.
Then I get what I need in terms of acknowledgement and also information.
Yeah, so what she said for anyone who couldn't hear is, as a direct communicator, if you're one of the indirect communicators, can you at least tell me, I just need some time? That way I know it's going to be addressed. Engagement styles are probably feeling that same way, right? Just let me know. I can give you that, but just please let me know. Absolutely. How about for an engagement style? Was there something in addition to that? I'm sure that was one of yours, but yes.
I understand why you would feel that way, or just like some kind of acknowledgement that your feelings are heard.
Just acknowledge that you heard how it impacted me. And even if you don't want to say, I understand why you would feel that way, because quite frankly, you might not. But you can just say, and I hear that was really frustrating for you, right? It's neutral, but it says, I heard that part, right? Absolutely. How about for an accommodation style? What's one way that someone can show respect to you? Yes, back there.
I would like that if any kind of extra tasks are put onto my role and I feel overwhelmed and I'm able to express that to the other individual, I like their idea of what can I do to work with you on this to make sure that this is achieved and finding that kind of
Okay, great. So getting some kind of participation from the other side. Hey, I put myself out here to have this conversation with you. Probably not my most comfortable space. So can you reciprocate by bringing some ideas to me as well and kind of being part of this conversation with me? Absolutely. And then how about for dynamic style? What's just one way? Yes?
Well, I'm going to go a little bit off topic slightly, but we really felt that in a threesome here, that our styles changed often depending upon the situation and the power dynamic. So I kind of feel like trying to recognize a difference in a power dynamic when you see somebody reacting in a certain style.
Absolutely. So just to make sure everyone heard it, these styles can change based on power dynamic. And that's very real. Absolutely. You probably have a default style, the one that's the most core to you, not the one you're trying to be, but like the one that you would default to if you had your way. And I think that's an important one to spend the most time on when you can, but certainly we adapt. And that's actually the goal. The goal is to be aware of this. Remember, we're in the A of active awareness. We are aware that these communication style differences are at play. And I have done some amazing facilitations where we actually, when we have more time, we'll put these up in a room on 4 different corners of the wall, and people will get up and go to their style. And we'll have these great discussions about the strengths of those styles and how that shows up. And it's really amazing to watch work teams stand on the opposite corners of the room from each other and go, oh, yeah, that makes sense, right? So, but generally speaking, right, if you are discussion or engagement style, knowing that it at least will be addressed is huge for you. Likewise, if you're accommodation or dynamic, giving time to those individuals, letting them have the space to process is huge. They will come to you better and more fully processed and able to talk about it if they get that space and time. Similarly, engagement and dynamic style, they need to hear that you heard how the situation impacted them. They need to hear that. But likewise, for discussion and accommodation style, just because they don't talk about how it impacted them, don't feel like that moment wasn't met. They can acknowledge how it impacted you, but if they don't say it back, that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're robotic or unfriendly or anything. It's their style. So this is huge. This is a big, big part of our active awareness. And like I said, we don't have, 3 hours to go into every part of it, but this felt important enough to spend some time on because I think it really impacts our disagreements. So that was talking about kind of style differences. The other part I want to spend a minute on is bias. Now, there's academics in the room. Some of you may know there are over 150 different kinds of bias. I find that fascinating. There could be a whole probably, seminar just on that. But the one I want to talk about today is confirmation bias, because I think this shows up in big ways right now. Confirmation bias, as most of us know, is that tendency to look for things that confirm your perceptions of another person. And I'll give you an example of this surprising me and coming into my life. So about 10 years ago, I was really starting the traveling circuit with NCRC and doing a lot more traveling and speaking. And I happened to be paired up often or in traveling groups with these 2 other colleagues who were kind of just similar. They were kind of my age. We had similar life things happening in terms of like either young families or thinking ahead to getting families. And we just had a lot in common. And when we were traveling, we would really enjoy the town we were in. Like we could be in New York City or we could be in like a small city in central Arizona. And we would find a cool restaurant to go to or something. We never just did the hotel thing and back, but we would just, enjoy that town. I loved it. And then one day, I was told that I would be taking a trip and I was going to be traveling with this woman who I respected so much. And she was about 25 years my senior. And I shocked myself because the first thought that went through my mind was, oh, I'm not going to have as much fun. I know, I'm so embarrassed to tell you this story, but I have to be honest about it. Okay, so that was just, it flashed through my mind. I was instantly aware of it, but it did. It flashed through my mind. So I could have gone on that trip thinking, we're probably not going to have as much fun, and then looked for all the ways that was true. So when we finished working together and she said, I'm going to head back to my room, I was like, see, I knew it. Furthermore, I could have actually done things to confirm this, like not inviting her to dinner, right? And then I go, see, we didn't even go to dinner. I didn't even invite her, right? And so with confirmation bias, we have to be so careful because if we're not aware of it, and our brain wants to do this, we are actually rewarded, our brain is rewarded when we find information that confirms what we think. It feels good, yeah. And so we kind of like sometimes create scenarios to make that happen without even realizing we're doing it. So especially when we're in a disagreement with someone that we already have some feelings about, we gotta really look for this and see how it's showing up. Now, of course, you all know the end of that story is that we did go out to dinner. She's a blast. We traveled together dozens of times over the other 10 years, and she's one of my favorite people to travel with. But we got to think about this. This is an important piece, and it's a small glimpse at bias, but I think it's really critical to when we're thinking about how am I walking in to this conversation? What's happening on my end? What communication style differences are at play? And what perceptions of this whole situation do I need to process? I'm going to move now into thinking about our brain, and I like to think about our brain like a muscle in the body that we have to train. Our survivor brain, I referenced this earlier, this is the part of our brain that kicks into fight, flight, and freeze, especially when we're in conflict, when we feel threatened. It is really important. We need to know when danger is out there, whether that is physical or psychological. The survivor brain is really critical to telling us this is not a good situation for you. You need to get out of it. But quite frankly, it's overused. We're not always in dangerous situations. Sometimes we're just in uncomfortable situations, right? But if we're operating from that place of survivor brain, we can't activate our awareness, right? And so we really want to tap into our more emotionally intelligent thinking brain that allows for things like self-soothing and centering. And really what that side of our brain does is it allows for the active awareness piece. And so what I talk about all the time is exercise this part of your brain so that when you are surprised by a disagreement or a conflict, it's strong. It's ready to step in and run that marathon. If we're not thinking about some of these things on our off hours, we end up surprised and in that kind of frozen mode or fight mode. And we're not our best. We're not able to problem solve the best when we're in that mode. So a lot of what I talk about here, and especially will in the next section, isn't just about being like a nice person. It's a strategic methodology to help you get better results. And so in the next section, I want to quickly talk about this idea of responding respectfully. Because this is something that some of us have spent already some time in practice on. A lot of you have probably heard of like paraphrasing. How many of you have heard, utilized, done paraphrasing before? A good number of you. So we refer to it as kind of demonstrating understanding. And that's basically when you hear something from the other person that you disagree with, how can you just recap what you heard them say? this tells the other person, I heard you, right? But a lot of teaching stops here. It kind of stops at this part of just, I heard you. And we believe that that's not complete. There's actually more to it that you need to do, because sometimes, and some of us have been in these conversations, you feel like you've acknowledged that you heard them, and they keep saying it again, and then again, and you're like, I heard you. So, why does that happen? Well, I think there's two other steps that need to happen in this section. One is acknowledge the impact it had on them. We just heard that from our dynamic style, or engagement style, thank you. But being able to say, not only did I hear you, right? But it sounds like that was pretty disappointing. Okay? It can be that simple. And they may or may not have even said that, depending on kind of what they expressed to you. But sometimes just being able to say, and yeah, I bet that was pretty frustrating. Or it sounds like that really delayed what you wanted to get done. Acknowledge the impact that it had on them. And then the third step is try to identify what the underlying needs were. This one is a little harder. Of the three, this is the hardest one. You've got to put your detective hat on a little bit. Because how often do we hear complaints, folks? Like, all the time. All the time, every day, hundreds of times a day probably. And hey, can we fix every complaint? No way. We can't. We cannot fix every surface level complaint. But under every complaint, there is usually an underlying need, right? And that underlying need could be a starting point for solution building. So that could be something like respect, or better communication, or having a timeline, or setting different expectations. So what you have to do in this part, this is why I say detective hat, is as you're listening to them complaining, you are not only thinking, okay, I'm going to recap this to them, but you're also thinking, I want to acknowledge that this was a frustrating or disappointing or whatever situation for them, and I'm trying to think about what they actually needed from the situation, right? They're really mad because they didn't get funding for this project they wanted, and it went to a different department. And also though, I can't change that, the funding is gone, but I want to acknowledge that they're valued. Sounds like you really needed to be acknowledged and valued that your project is important, right? I want to tell you that your project is important. It changes the trajectory of the conversation, because a lot of us who are doers, we're problem solvers, we want to jump to the solution, and that is a great thing. But sometimes we jump to the solution and we haven't done this part, and we have this like great solution, you know, we're like, good for me, that's a good one, and it's not over. The other person still has something that they're hung up on, still has something that is unresolved. Well, maybe it's they didn't feel like they were acknowledged, or the underlying need wasn't met, just the surface level was. So doing these three things is critical to moving the process forward, critical. And I have seen like situations where 2 out of 3 are done, or 1 out of 3 are done, and it's helpful, but I tell you, it's the combo of the 3 that makes a massive difference. And let me ask you, does it say anywhere on here, agree with the other person? No. You might vehemently disagree with the other person, right? So this is not about agreeing. This is about letting, and maybe you learned something that you go, okay, that was insightful. That changed my perspective a little bit, but maybe not. And you are still totally entitled to where you stand. This is about helping them feel heard so you can move the situation forward. I can't emphasize that enough. And like I said again, is this a nice thing to do? Of course. But more importantly, this is a strategy for you, because you don't want to be stuck in that loop of conflict, right? So this has a lot of power, and I believe in it a lot. Again, think about training your brain though. Think about how can I be thinking about this in the off hours so that as you do this with more and more people, it becomes more like learning a second language. And then I just want to talk quickly about how to move to that problem-solving position. So we talk about kind of troubleshooting, working towards a solution of some sort. And that doesn't always mean that you agree on every point. In fact, a lot of the time it's not going to mean that. But how do you get to a place that is moving forward from the stuck position that you were? A big part of that is, one, you being able to tell your perspective. You haven't done that yet. But you've got to do it in a way that's non-confrontational. And I know that that's asking those of you in the room to be the bigger person sometimes, because it's very likely that the other person maybe did not do it that way. But to get results, I always like to ask this question: do you want to be right, or do you want to be heard? Sometimes we know we're right. We know that. And it is infuriating to be like, but look, the sky is blue. The sky is blue. Look up, it's blue, right? But if the other person will not hear you say that because you're screaming it at them, or you're throwing articles at them, or you're whatever's happening, and they're like, I'm not, it's green, I know it, it's green, and I'm not, you're not accomplishing what you ultimately want to. And so if the goal is to, get them to see that the sky is blue, we have to think about how we present the information we want. If the goal is to win the debate, go win the debate. There's a place for that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes if our goal is to be heard, we have to think about how we're going to present that information. And it could take a different strategy. So a couple tips and things to think about. First, try to state how the situation is impacting you without attacking the other person. And that sounds so obvious, and then we kind of try it, and we say some things, and we're like, oh, yeah, I could see how that was said to me. That might give my defense mechanism up a little bit. So want to think about that. How am I saying it where I'm not responding or triggering defense mechanisms in them, if possible? The other thing is, speak from that needs perspective, your interests. Try yourself to stay away from those surface level complaints that might be hard to agree on, and stick to just like those needs that you have. I need to have clear expectations of how we're going to work together. So I'm not going to rehash all the ways I feel like you've disappointed that. I will if it's important to this conversation, but more importantly, I need clear expectations for how we're going to work together, okay? I love we statements. It sounds simple. A lot of us have learned I versus you statements, right? I think we statements are even better. They're even better because it creates this togetherness, even with people you're very, very much opposed to. Hey, you know what? We're not seeing eye to eye on this, and I don't know if we will, but I know that we have to work together in this department. And I know that we care a lot about the students here. And so I'd like for us to figure out how we're going to do this. Now, this is together, right? Different than just, well, I care about the students, and I care about this department. That can sound a little like, well, so do I, right? So even though you're doing the I statements correctly, in theory, we statements are better. And then people love options. Always present options if you can. This is actually a trick used by high conflict personality experts. They say that when you are stuck in a situation with someone who is even like a narcissist or a sociopath, one of the ways that nobody here knows anyone like that, I'm sure. One of the ways that you can get some control of the situation is by presenting options, right? Because you are giving them a sense of having some say in the outcome, right? But all of those options are things that you have thought of. And it's actually a really effective tool. Also, if any of you have children, highly recommend. But this is huge. You want the other person that you're working with to feel involved in the outcome because they are much more likely to kind of stick with it, whatever that looks like. But it's really nice to be able to give options and then kind of work through that. Plus, wink, wink, you have some control in the scenario there, okay? So think about this concept of telling your own perspective. It's important, it should be heard, but in a way that maybe can be heard, right? And how you're going to do that. So obviously in like a full workshop, oh yes, question.
Oh, I was just going to add to that last point where I do like to acknowledge if we have similar ideas and maybe there's something that you presented that I didn't even consider, I do like to state I really enjoy that idea, I think it'd be
I love that. Yeah, just there's so many good, whatever strategies you can think of that include the other person, you will get a better result. And I recognize that like that sounds good and is hard in practice because number one, it takes more time. Number two, you probably have really good ideas about how to resolve it, and you're kind of like, can we just do it my way? Because it's going to be good that way. And I get that, I do. But the more you can involve the other person in what you're going to do, the less this will cycle back to you later, right? Their involvement, their buy-in is a big, big part of it. And so as I was going to say, obviously in like a full workshop, we would kind of practice some of this and work through some of these conversations. So I highly encourage you to think about this and think about maybe some of those conversations. Think about training and exercising our brain. Go back and let's look, when you have some time, let's look at this art process. Think about that last conversation you had that did go sideways, or that place where you couldn't get unstuck. And think about, okay, were there communication style differences at play, right? Was there any bias at play on their part or on mine? Did I really process all my perceptions of that, or is there stuff for me to reflect on? Also, think about, how did I respond when all of that came at me? Did I do these 3 things? And if I didn't, okay, but how would I? Let's just play that out. What would that have sounded like? There's also a note up here that it's really great to use open-ended questions in that respond respectfully time, if you can. There's nothing that makes someone feel more heard than being asked for more information. And I know that can be really painful when you really don't want more information. I know that. But there's nothing that shows more care and interest than just even one question. Like, that's interesting. I don't see it that way. I would like to know a little bit more about how you arrived there. Wow. The other person's going to go, well, I would love to tell you, you know. But it's great. It moves them to a different space mentally for working with you. And then thinking about how you're going to tell your perspective in a non-confrontational way. Here, this says make sure everyone's needs are met. That does not mean make sure the issue's resolved, right? Because a lot of the time, like I said, we can't fix every complaint. But have we at least identified what those needs are? And even if we haven't figured out the perfect way that we're going to communicate moving forward forever, we've named it, right? And we've said, it feels like that's really important to both of us, that we work on how we communicate these things in the future. And then end on a positive note. We do, as I mentioned earlier, we do mediation services as part of our organization's business. And I would say that in mediation, there's about an 80% agreement rate, which is great. But that means that 20% of the time, we have to end the session and there's not an agreement. But we do follow-ups with all of our clients, 3 months later and then 6 months later. Of that 20% that didn't come to an agreement, guess how many of them, when we call back, say their situation has improved dramatically? It's like 75%. So these are people who left the mediation without an agreement. And when we call them 3 and 6 months later, 75% of those people say that their situation has dramatically improved. And so that goes to show how just the process itself opens doors that may not have been open previously, right? And so end on a positive note, even if you don't have like all the I's dotted and T's crossed. Hey, you know what? This conversation was hard today, and I know it was uncomfortable for both of us. We've still got some work to do, but I just want to celebrate that we even had it. A lot of people wouldn't even have this conversation, so, you know, thanks for respecting me enough to sit in here and do this, and vice versa. Let's go from here, right? That's a lot. That's a big step. So this is the art process in 45 minutes. It's a lot to take in, but like I said, a lot of you are already doing elements of this. So this is just kind of adding to your toolbox things that you're already doing and supporting it with a structure that hopefully is kind of easy to remember. ART, active awareness, respond respectfully, troubleshoot together, so that you can think about these things. Before I close out, I did want to let you know that I have a couple of party favors. So outside, later when y'all leave, I brought a bunch of these bookmarks that are 10 tips for conflict resolution. Now, I don't recommend like passive-aggressively taping this to your colleague's computer or anything. But these are great tools to have. I really value these, and I encourage you to grab one. They're out at the little like registration desk out there. And then the other thing I will leave you with is that we really believe at NCRC that our mission is to support and equip workplaces and professionals with these kinds of skills. So we've curated free resources for professionals, for workplace leaders, but all levels of professionals. And so if you want, you can feel free to scan this QR code, and I think it asks you to like put your name in or something, but then you have access to a library of resources like forever. And we do weekly videos, we do webinars, we do documents like the 10 tips, we produce white papers. So anyway, that's on there. If that's something that would be helpful for you to just have access to a library of resources, it is available to you. And so with that, I just want to say thank you so much for having me out to do the keynote today. Congratulations on kicking off another excellent, I'm sure, year. And I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Stern.
Thank you so much, Ashley, and thank you to the campus climate committees for their recommendation that we engage the National Conflict Resolution Center today. I want to thank those who made opening day possible. Clark and the CPAC team, we appreciate you. Richie and Lynn in the marketing department, the executive team, our facilities and custodial crew, the foundation, and to Bonnie and Cindy. So faculty hour and area meetings are right after this event, and lunch begins at 12:15 in the 5000 complex. So we will see you there. Thank you.